Yeah, so keeping paucity of time in mind, I think so we should not wait more. Anyways, we would be having the recording, we will be putting it further out. So I think so we should start. Sukriti, our host, I request you, Sukriti, to begin.
Archo,
Yeah, hello.
A very good afternoon to all of you. We welcome you on the board of webinar entitled Industry Institute Interaction, the Institute of Chemical Technology, ICT Story, organized by DST-Centre for Policy Research at Punjab University, Chandigarh. I request Professor Nirmala, Coordinator, DST-CPR at PU Chandigarh, to present a welcome note.
Uh, Dr. Padma Devarajan, President Innovation Council and member Board of Governors, Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. Dr. Rabindra Kumar Panigrahi, DST, Government of India, faculty members, industry representatives, researchers, students, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to all. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome our distinguished speaker, Dr. Padma, and I, on behalf of Punjab University and on my personal behalf, thank you, Dr. Padma, for sparing your valuable time to be here with us and talking on a very important topic, the Industry Institute interaction, and giving an example of ICT Mumbai. And we are all aware that academia and industry, they are two strong pillars of our economy. And a robust collaboration between these two is very essential for developing our economy and for enabling innovation, growth in the education sector, and also production of employment-ready workforce. And the need of the hour is to focus on making more outcome-based research and collaboration of the institutions and the industry, so that we work hand in hand. And entrepreneurs and educational institutes, we have to recognize this opportunity and try to build up a constructive framework for collaboration to make India a global innovation hub. And Dr. Padma will elaborate on many initiatives taken by ICT Mumbai. It's very quite well known and famous, and she will also give an idea about the successes achieved by the institute. And our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar, to be here with us, but maybe he'll be joining shortly. So I will request Dr. Panigrahi to address the audience and just give an overview about the Policy Research Centers, which is a very good initiative of DST. So Dr. Panigrahi, can you please address?
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Nirmala. My namaskar to all the eminent dignitaries and fellow participants in this very important webinar. At the outset, let me congratulate the DST-Centre for Policy Research at Punjab University for organizing this very important event, and thanks for inviting DST to deliver this address. Probably the COVID-19 pandemic has definitely thrown many challenges, including the increased distance or social distance, more particularly among us. But at least it has brought people across the world close to each other through such virtual platforms. I hope you all will agree with me that science, technology, and innovation are recognized to play a significant role in our life and also on development of the human society. Worldwide, the science, technology, innovation policies with well-integrated implementation strategies are playing key role in national developments. And Department of Science and Technology, Government of India is mandated to formulate and deliver public policy support for promotion of science, technology, and innovation in the country. DST, through its policy research program, has been closely engaged with this endeavor. And while pursuing the Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2013 to have dialogues and actions for the public support, DST has established 5 centers for policy research in the country, including the one at Punjab University. Some of the key objectives of the centers for policy research include strengthening the policy research mechanism for facilitating evidence-based planning approaches, and also to generate critical mass of the policy researchers through the support of Science, Technology and Innovation fellowships. And in the last 6 years, it has been observed that the findings of gap areas identified through ongoing activities in these policy research centers have been helping the government to design new directives, sometimes also leading to design of new programs. It may be noteworthy to mention here that the new Science and Technology Innovation Policy 2020 is in the process of formulation, in which a strong group of the STI fellows trained through these Centers for Policy Research have been playing a significant role and contributing a lot to this policy formulation process. The STIP 2020 formulation has been conducting rigorous consultation processes with wide range of stakeholders at several levels. The poor linkages between industry, academia, and their role in strengthening the innovation ecosystem in the country has been flagged at multiple platforms of consultation. Some of the selected issues discussed here are in these consultations, for example, are how to increase industry participation in overall R&D in the country, poor collaboration between knowledge producers and knowledge users, and how to boost the innovation ecosystem in the country, how to drive indigenous technology development in line with the new clarion call of our Prime Minister, that is the Atmanirbhar Bharat, etc. Okay, now coming to this webinar, in these regards, Institute of Chemical Technology is one of the prominent institutes in our country, which has successfully demonstrated close linkage with industry and with several examples of translating the knowledge produced into commercialized products. I am confident that listening to such a distinguished speaker like Professor Padma Devarajan will certainly bring more insights on policy interventions to bridge the gaps in strengthening the innovation ecosystems in our higher education institutions. I look forward to the summary of the webinar, which is expected to be of highly valuable input for the new Science and Technology Innovation Policy 2020. Without wasting much time, let me stop here. Thank you so much for your kind presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rabindra, for putting across the mandate of Center of Policy Research and their catalytic role in formulation of new science policy. With this, I take an opportunity to introduce our distinguished speaker, Professor Padma Devarajan. Professor Padma is President, Innovation Council and Member Board of Governors of Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. She is also heading the World Bank Technical Education Quality Improvement Program, popularly known as TUQUIT, at ICT. Her research interest lies in colloidal carriers for targeted delivery in cancer and infectious disease, veterinary drug delivery, bioenhancement strategies, and drug development. She has over 100 publications in reputed journals, filed many patents, out of which she has been granted 7, and 5 have been licensed successfully. She has authored books and contributed in many book chapters. Her book entitled Targeted Drug Delivery Concepts and Strategies made her won Professor N.R. Kamath Book Award. Her research is financially supported by both government and by industry, not only nationally but internationally. Professor Padma has carried out a number of collaborative projects and has providing a consultancy to pharma industry. So for this topic of industry-academia collaboration, she is the perfect one to address these issues related to IA interaction. So continuing with what about Professor Padma, she has been credited with numerous awards such as American Association of Indian Pharmaceutical Scientists, and recently she has been credited with Punjab Rao Deshmukh Outstanding Women Scientist Award. And trust me, the list is so big, so I'm just mentioning two of them here. So with this, I'll briefly introduce the Institute of Chemical Technology to our participants. It's the only right university and center of excellence in the state of Maharashtra that evolved from the university department to a full-fledged institute itself. And much of the credit goes to the strong industry-academia collaboration that happens at ICT Mumbai. So just before handing the floor to the Professor Padma, I have a few housekeeping instructions for our audience. Please keep your microphone on mute to minimize any kind of background noise and disturbance. For any questions, comments, and inputs, please post it in a chat box. We will take up the comments after the talk in our question-answer round. Please mention your name and a representative department or an organization so we can speak your name along with the questions. Now, over to you, Professor Padma. Thank you. Thank you once again for joining us on a webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Radhika. And at the outset, I would like to thank the Centre of Policy Research, Punjab University, for inviting me to this webinar, and in particular, Dr. Radhika and Dr. Nirmala, who have been in continuous touch with me. It's certainly a privilege to be showcasing the Institute of Chemical Technology, which Radhika has introduced to you in 2 lines, but it is an institute that would soon be completing 87 years. And I have the privilege of being associated with this institute for almost 4 decades. 1 decade as a student and almost 3 decades as a professor. And I think it's very important for me that I am not only a faculty at ICT, but I am also a privileged alumnus of ICT, and ICT is my alma mater. So I am doubly pleased to showcase to you not just ICT, but my alma mater too. So I will go on to my presentation and start sharing my presentation now. Is it seen? Is the presentation seen?
Not yet, ma'am.
No?
No, not yet.
Just a minute. Can't share your screen. It's saying can't share. Can you just enable sharing? Because we had done it earlier, no?
Right. So could you and
All right. So, yeah.
all right.
Which is the Industry Institute interaction. When I think of Industry Institute interaction, what comes to my mind first is something that I heard very recently at another webinar, which was stated by Professor Agarwal, chairman of our NBA, where he very aptly said, research converts money into knowledge, and innovation converts knowledge into money. So what we see normally is that institutes are much more focused in this area of research, while converting knowledge to money is left to the industry. And this has been the order of the day to a large extent for years, particularly in India. But this has been breached in the Western countries and in the US. So what we are trying to understand today is we have on one side industry, the other side we have institutions, and how shall the twain meet is, I think, what we are talking of today. how would industry institutes interact so that the country benefits, the world benefits? So for industry institute interaction to happen, I think I would like to address it as first the recipe, move on to a roadmap, talk about opportunities, and also discuss a few challenges. But I have said this is a story because it's very difficult to cover every aspect of what has happened, either in ICT or even around in terms of industry institute interaction. So I will be focusing around ICT as a case study. So when I begin with the recipe, I was debating what to call this, whether to call it the recipe or to call it a formula, because today everybody wants a ready-to-use formula for success. But what I realized when I kept analyzing that a formula is a mathematical expression that gives one answer. And when we talk of industry institute interaction, there is no one answer. So I thought it would be very nice to call it a recipe, because a recipe is much more flexible. And while it is fixed in maybe restaurants and hotels, in a family kitchen, the recipe is one of the most variable components. So you add what you have, you delete what you don't have, and you may yet dash up something that's very tasty. And when you have to delete what you don't have, it's because of circumstances. So circumstances can, in a big way, affect industry institute interaction that is followed by an institution. At the same time, the recipe, what additional things we add, that is the innovation that one can bring into a recipe, is equally important for an industry institute interaction to grow successfully. Coming to the roadmap, what I would be using here is ICT as the case study for the roadmap and presenting to you the various means of industry institute interaction at ICT and also tell you our success stories. And then we will discuss the opportunities and the challenges. So I will first go to the recipe. The recipe in generic terms would first involve a strong research culture. Very, very important. You also need motivated and dedicated faculty because they would be the base to decide on how strong your research culture is. Because it is a faculty that breathe in fresh air into research. It's a faculty that motivates students. And yes, students also perform. So they are also an integral part of this recipe. Faculty interaction with the industry is very, very critical at the independent level as much as institute interaction with industry is important, because these small ties can grow into big bonds and they can grow into what you call as covalent bonds also. So it's not necessary that only the major institute industry interaction must be focused on. Independent faculty interaction with industry is equally important. And very important is continued pursuit of excellence. That should be evident in performance. With this continued pursuit of excellence, what happens is government comes to you and gives you huge grants to help you develop your research. And industry will also follow and come to you to either take your research or come to you to say, yes, you have the capability, please help me with this particular project. So these, I believe, are a very strong components of a recipe that could trigger very good industry institute interaction. Now let's move to the Institute of Chemical Technology. It is founded in 1933 as the University Department of Chemical Technology of the University of Mumbai and is got very well known as UDCT. And this became such a brand that as we tried to evolve, it took us a little bit of time, but with our persistence and passion for the institute and commitment to the institute, we have built the ICT brand in very limited time. So having started as a department of Mumbai University, UDCT has slowly evolved to become the Institute of Chemical Technology. Radhika told you from the start to the finish, but I'll take you along because that's very, very important to follow the historic evolution of an institution, because that history plays a very key role in the success of the institution. So in 1933, we were founded as UDCT, that's University Department of Chemical Technology, and many of us and many of those who are very old timers still love to call ICT still UDCT and related to it even today as UDCT. But what is important is UDCT started as desire of the industry. So it was not just an academic institution that came up saying, okay, let's create this course. No, it was created because industry said, let's create an institute that will produce manpower for the industry that is current. And at that time, the major industry was textile. And what was needed to supplement the textile industry was chemical engineering. So in 1933, we had the textile department and the chemical engineering department that started. Subsequently, large number of departments started. And as we progressed for about 7 decades, UDCT got converted to MUICT in 2002, that is the Mumbai University Institute of Chemical Technology. And moving from department to institute was a visionary decision to enable that as an institute, we could get many more grants than we could get as a department of University of Mumbai. We then moved on further to become an autonomous institute of University of Mumbai. So we got functional autonomy. And Mumbai University is a huge state university. And when we became an autonomous institute, we could move much faster because the protocols, etc., could be handled much quicker. In 2008, it was a game-changing move. We became a deemed university under section 50 or under UGC, and 2008 onwards, we have been spiraling ahead very, very quickly. We got the elite status and center of excellence conferred by Government of Maharashtra in 2012. And in Maharashtra, we are the only institute with this kind of excellence awarded to us. And then in 2018, our growth didn't stop. We were conferred Category 1 Institute with graded autonomy by MHRD UGC. 2018 has been a very important year for us, not only because we became a Category 1 university, but we also expanded with 2 campuses, one in Bhubaneswar, funded by IOCL on March 18th, and another one in the state of Maharashtra, that is at Jalna. And here we have ICT's Padma Awardees. Over 50% of them are all people who have led ICT from the forefront to take us right from UDCT to where we are today. We have Padma Vibhushan Professor Sharma, we have Professor Venkatraman, we have Professor Joshi, we have Professor Yadav. And then we also have other luminaries like Professor Tilak, Professor Srinivasan, and Professor Kani, who have all been part of the institute as they took it along, supported by all the other luminaries in different ways. And we also have a lot of alumni contributing to the institute and enabling this institute industry interaction to go forward. And we were told, so this is not what we are saying, but this is what we were told by Dr. Amitabh Kant of Niti Aayog last year when he visited us as chief guest on Technology Day, that ICT alumni are contributing to almost 8% of the GDP of the country, which we are extremely proud of. So how is this excellence, particularly in research, which is primary for industry institute interaction? It is through government support. And like I told you, excellence brings in huge support. So we have two youth centers. One is the DST-Center for Energy Biosciences with a 40 crore grant. And we have a DAE-ICT Center for Chemical Engineering Education and Research, about 58 crore grant, which is now expanded into the area of deuterated pharmaceuticals also. We have other grants from DST, the DST-FIST. Many departments have DST-FIST. We have the DPRP, that is the Program for Research on Pharmaceuticals. Then the SERB grants and grants under Nano Mission are plenty at ICT. Then we have CSIR under the NIMITLI, which was a very special project, and other CSR projects. We have number of grants from DBT under various programs, UGC, AICT, ICMR, Ayush. So you mention a government organization, and ICT is enabled by that organization. And not because they are coming to us and just gifting us the grant, but everybody is competing for these grants. And another grant that we are involved with is the TechWhip program, which is a World Bank MHRD program, which is also doing us a lot of benefit, particularly in terms of patents. So I will now showcase to you a little bit of where we stand today. Very important, I would like to state first that ICT is a state-funded public institute and therefore receives only a block grant for salary from the state. There is very limited other funding other than what I showed you in this earlier slide, and this is all competitively garnered grants. So unlike central institutions, ICT is not getting grants annually from the government or the central government. And we don't get that because we're a state government deemed university. Nevertheless, that has not come in the way of progress. We are number 4 in pharmacy in the NIRF ranking, 18 in engineering, 18 overall among universities, and 34 overall among all institutions, which we are very proud of because our numbers are very small, and very often these ranks are more due to numbers rather than due to performance. We have also got some ranks in the Times Higher Education ranking, the ARIA, that is the Innovation, Atal Innovation rankings, and the QS World University rankings, where in India we are 22, in Times we are 7 in India. So we are doing very well. So grants is not very, very critical, and the sole factor on which excellence is dependent is what I would like to emphasize, because as I show you some more data, you will see that we have managed it with these limited grants. So what kind of courses do we have? Our academic and research programs, I'm not spelling out all of them, just numbers for the sake of time. 9 UG programs, the same 9 as PG plus 9 additional PG programs, 29 PhD programs. And like we're talking of industry institute interaction, 2 programs to help students get prepared for the industry. One is the PG Diploma in Chemical Technology Management, which was run by the alumni. And we also have a course in safety and risk management, which is very critical, particularly in the chemical industry. So unlike other institutions, we have a very strange PG-UG ratio. In 2000, we equalized that ratio, and in 2020, the ratio is more than 1, which means we have more PGs than UGs, and which also showcases our focus and strength in research. And among the PG courses, we are very happy to say that we have 3 DBT-supported MTech programs in bioprocess technology, food biotechnology, and pharmaceutical biotechnology. And in all these 3 programs, which are particularly pharmaceutical biotechnology, which is relatively new, campus recruitment is so high. Students are all getting placed sometime in October, and they're going to finish only in June or July. And very important, in keeping with the need of today, our master's programs, some of them are also interdisciplinary. like the master's programs, these 3 programs, and then the green technology program, the perfumery program, etc. So this is some data on our peer-reviewed publications. And you can see that it has been going up. Now here we are at least 500 plus, and we are, I must emphasize, only about 100 faculty. Today we may stand at 124, but almost 20 of them are new recruits, so they have not contributed to this as on date. So this is all with about 100 faculty, and an average of about 5 publications per faculty. Is a very astounding number. PhD that are graduating from a number of 60 10 years ago, it's moved up. It was about 100 in 16-17. It's moved to 140, 142. And in the convocation that we are going to have end of August, an e-convocation, because the earlier one got postponed due to the pandemic, the pace going in terms of PhDs that are graduating. Funding from sponsored projects. Yes, funding is certainly important. So this is our funding, and you'll see that at no particular year are we touching anything like 100 crores. Nevertheless, I think performance, you have seen our PhDs, you have seen our publications, and I will now show you funding from consultancy. So this is a very unique form of industry-institute interaction where the faculty member provides only advice. The faculty does not use the institute facilities under the consultancy agreement. So it is only for advice to industry, and there is a share of 33% to the institute and 66.6% to the faculty who's involved. And here we have about 4 crores. And importantly, some of the faculty earn more than their salary in consultancy. So what I would like to emphasize here is every faculty, even a new faculty who has joined today, is not restricted from taking up consultancies. So there is a very proactive environment that is triggering industry-institute collaboration. Innovation and excellence is determined by the number of patents. I'm showing you only patents granted, which is about 29. Patents filed is much more. But patents filed may not always convert to granted patents, so I'm limiting to the granted patent number. And I'm not showing you the number, the remuneration through granted patents, which are licensed. The number of patents licensed would be about 5 to max 10% of the granted patents. Again, that is a lacuna. And the value I am not showing because it's very low. So this again talks of an industry mindset, which I will come to at a later stage. So while we are aggressive in innovation, the conversion rate, I would say, is low. So we will try and understand why it's low later. A very important aspect of growth of any institute is not only industry-institute collaboration, but it is also institute-institute collaboration. So here what I'm showing you are the MOUs signed with some representative companies, but the numbers are here. We have 23 signed with government labs and academic institutions, almost 100 signed with industries and industrialists, and about 19 with international universities. So very important, while the collaboration with universities and institutes both in India and abroad helps us to create that knowledge which can be converted to wealth. Here we have something where the knowledge is actually getting converted to wealth. And a very important aspect of this collaboration here and the MOU signed is varied. And one very important MOU that we have also signed with some of these institutes or industry is for training. So we also use our academic strengths to train their people, particularly new recruits, or training in newer areas that are developing areas where people who are in the industry do not have time to read up and gain exposure. And then, of course, we have other methods of collaboration, which as I move on, I will be showing you and showcasing. So now, what could be a roadmap for a very strong industry-institute interaction? We need to understand the opportunities which go beyond sponsorship, because when we think of interaction, the first thing that comes to anybody's mind is, all right, I must have a project, I must deliver the project, and then something must go to the industry. But that can not be the only mode of industry-institute interaction. I already suggested one, that is training. So opportunities which go beyond sponsorship must certainly be looked at. But to get all these opportunities, what is important? In the roadmap, relationship building. And that is why I said, while institute would build relationships through the management, individuals should also be promoted and not limited to build such relationships. Because drops of water certainly can make an ocean, and in this case, at least they would make a pond in which we can certainly swim and take this industry institute interaction to success. Confidence building is another very important aspect. So what confidence are we talking of? What kind of confidence building? It is building, instilling confidence in the industry partner by the academia that they are capable. So this is not through talk, but this is through work. So we have to showcase our capabilities in different ways so that industry is sure that they can rely on us for performance. They can rely on our commitment, and they can rely on us for their success. And then sustainable collaboration, very, very important to keep this relationship that is built continued and to keep exploiting different opportunities with time in the industry institute collaboration. So let's look at the first, that is through research projects, which is the most simplest way and the easiest thought that comes to mind. So you could have industry-sponsored research. So the industry comes to the institute, takes the product, and if they find it viable at that point of time, they would commercialize. And when I say if they find it viable, it does not reflect on the capability of the faculty. It depends on the marketing need at that point of time. Because in the industry itself, a lot of R&D developments are dropped along the way. Because by the time the development happens, or due to some drastic change in the market, commercialization no more becomes prospective and promising or profitable, and they drop the project. But yes, this is one very important method that is very, very critical for sponsorship. Then institute research. So an academic is doing research, an academic is filing patents, and an academic is then licensing that technology. This is a more challenging route. This is what has the innovation lies with the institute and with the academic here. Here, the innovation or the idea comes from the industry. And yes, very often, even here, there's a lot of innovative contribution from the academic collaborator. So both ways, we can have projects that come from the industry and go to commercialization. A very recent success story in industry-institute interaction, which I would like to showcase because it's a very unique kind of story and it is something very different. And this is our two campuses that have opened in 2016, as I showed you when I showed you the evolution of ICT. So here we have the ICT Mumbai Indian Oil Corporation Limited campus in Bhubaneswar. This is a building of IIT Kharagpur, which we are using temporarily. And we've already got 50 acres space where a new building should come up soon. But what's more important for us here is the model. This institute at Bhubaneswar has come through complete CSR funding of about 500 crore, supported by the government of Orissa, who were very important in motivating IOCL to give us this grant. And this grant came to us because the minister visited us, was convinced about our capability, and took ICT out of Maharashtra to Odisha. And this is a unique example of holistic industry institute interaction, because this fund is used for every aspect of development of the institute, right from students, academics, staff, and salaries of faculty and research and everything. And of course, this doesn't stop our faculty who are there from moving ahead to garner grants. In case of the Jalna campus, the government gave us about 300 crores, but yes, we are now mobilizing funds through CSR and philanthropy for Jalna. So this is a compulsion for us to do it, and a happy compulsion, because with our kind of name and accolades that we already have, we are very happy to say that we are able to find philanthropists and CSR supporters, industry supporting us through CSR. So this again is a very, very unique industry institute interaction. Very important is also the new model of sustained industry institute interaction that has been brought into the two campuses. So they have integrated MTech courses, MTech trimesters, and that is Executive MTech program in Bhubaneswar, and similar programs, the integrated MTech and MTech trimester. But what is important here is that these are sandwich courses which combine industrial training in the trimester courses. So every alternate trimester, students go to industry. So almost 33 to 35% of their training is in the industry. So this is again a very unique example of industry institute interaction, like Dr. Nirmala also said, to cater to the need of trained manpower ready for industry. So that is already something that ICT is following in these two campuses. Huge challenges, but we are working through these challenges, and we've already completed 2 years, and this year the third year with students would be admitted to both these campuses. The delay is only because of the pandemic. What is the other mode of industry institute collaboration is through CSR donations, not necessarily for huge institutes, but this is a Pidilite pavilion, which is an open air pavilion with an artificial synthetic turf, which was donated, and it cost almost 1 crore rupees by Pidilite. That is by Dr. Madhukar Parekh, who happens to be our alumnus. And here again, we had another alumnus of JB Chemicals, Mr. Modi, who donated 50 lakhs to develop this nano drug delivery lab. And these are just 2 cases that I'm highlighting. We have many, many more such CSR donations. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that using CSR donations is one of the very important channels to promote sustained industry institute interaction. For industry institute interaction, I also said that pursuit of excellence is a very important aspect of the recipe. So when we talk of excellence, excellence has to first be in the faculty, and through the faculty go to students. So one hand, we do have accomplished, dedicated and devoted faculty at ICT who work in an ambience of freedom and motivation. And this freedom and motivation is one of the prime causes for all this dedication, devotion, and accomplishments. But there is also something visionary here. So we have a history of endowment faculty chairs at various levels, supported by the industry. We have 2 chairs supported by Tata Group. We have a Bharat Petroleum, that is a public limited company, a private company. We also have UGC faculty recharge, scientists taken in as faculty. So we have quite a large number, because these are all prime faculty selected by UGC, and ICT welcomes them with open arms and also gives them facilities of research, which is why many of them are clamoring to come to ICT. And this also builds up our faculty excellence. We also welcome DST Inspire Fellows and Ramanujam and Ramalinga Swami Fellows, promoted by DST, DBT, etc. So wherever we see excellence, we don't let it lie. We try and imbibe that excellence into the institute, which is also one of the reasons why we are able to then, through these excellence in faculty, move on to industry-institute interaction. And I would like to specifically point out two very recent endowments that were created about 5 years ago, 2015. Both of them joined. One is Professor Lakshmi Kantam, retired director of IICT Hyderabad, the CSIR Institute. And we had Professor Ghosh, retired director of CSMCR, Bhavnagar, again a CSIR Institute, who joined us under these two important endowments, the BP Godrej Distinguished Professor, the Shri Kishore V. Mariwala, and Professor Joshi Chair in Chemical Engineering. And important is not that they've joined, while Professor Lakshmi Kantam is taking forward technology development, technology transfer, technology licensing, and mentoring a lot of faculty in a very big way. Professor Ghosh is focusing completely on innovation. And besides that, of course, they also teach like every academician, but I'm pointing out what is important for the industry institute interaction. So with the help of these two mentors, ICT is growing much faster in this direction. Pursuit of excellence, I said students are an important part. And here I focus on the research students. So to attract competitive doctoral students, we have competitive doctoral fellowships. One is the Professor M.M. Sharma Doctoral Fellowship in honor of Padma Vibhushan, Professor M.M. Sharma, former director of ICT. The Dr. John Kapoor Doctoral Fellowship, this is particularly for lady students, promoting gender equity, and Dr. John Kapoor is our alumnus. Then we have the DST Inspire students who get the doctoral fellowship through this DST Inspire Fellowship, also coming to the institute in a large way. We have the AICT doctoral fellowship candidates also wanting to come into ICT. And we had a large number of UGC doctoral fellowships. Temporarily, they have been discontinued, and we are looking forward and hoping that in some way they are continued. But this particular fellowship, the DST Prime Minister's Fellowship, is a fellowship that promotes industry institute interaction. And in early April, there was a webinar conducted by CII and DST to showcase one of the success stories in this Prime Minister's Fellowship. And I must say that it happened to be our project. So my student Darshin, my collaborator from ZIM, and myself presented our success story in this DST Prime Minister's Fellowship. At that time, what they said was the number of Prime Minister's PM fellowships is maximum in the state of Maharashtra. And in the state of Maharashtra, it is maximum at ICT. So we have about 11 fellowships under this particular scheme. So that also talks of the industry coming forward to support fellowships at ICT under this very important DST PM fellowship scheme. What are other avenues for industry institute interaction? Like I said, it could be government industry projects or industry institute projects or industry institute government projects. And there are a lot of such projects supported by DST, supported by DBT, supported in a very big way by government. But despite very, very intensive efforts by government, the number of projects is not really satisfying. It could certainly go up much more. We can have direct projects from the industry support through DST PM fellowships. Then where industry comes forward and licenses the IPR, the technology. The other option is consultancy. Like I told you at ICT, it is only advice but not projects. But yes, since 2014, we are allowed to take consultancy on research projects from industry till then, the faculty took a project from industry and got no remuneration. Despite that, there is no change in the number of projects that faculty are garnering. It was no less than or no more now. So, like I said, the finance is important but not so critical. And that also could be one of the reasons for excellence. Training is also an avenue where academics could train the industry in very many areas, particularly with the exponential spiraling growth of various specializations. This kind of training becomes very important for industry. And yes, there are also opportunities for people to become directors on board of companies. This, of course, is through invitation, but you showcase excellence and the invitation would follow. And an opportunity not to be missed is the CSR funding. CSR funding is available and can be used by academic institutions. So this is one big area for funding and promoting or initiating industry-institute interaction. So what are the opportunities that are available for academics to showcase themselves, to showcase their research? So various fora like national, international conferences, and I've just said conferences, but you have a lot more opportunities. You have so many different types of meets, you have exhibitions, and you have round tables and lot of other opportunities. Sometimes you also have government initiating such meets with industry. So it's very important that you are there. So you must try to find out and make your presence and your entrance into such a forum. At such fora, particularly if it's conference, even if the faculty doesn't attend, the student must be promoted to showcase the research. And very important at such avenues, there should be proactive networking with the industry. If you remain quiet in a corner, it doesn't help. So you must be proactive and try and reach out to the industry at that time. Because it's only going to be no loss. It may be win-win, but there's going to be no loss. So it is important that faculty and students are also motivated to open up with the industry and come back with some contacts. Another very important is to understand the need of the industry and implement projects that could be of interest to industry. Because very often industry feels there is no match of projects that we are interested in. So it's a good idea to understand the need. How does one understand through these fora? You could understand by seeking meetings with industry. You may get some of those meetings, some may not happen, but it's important to pursue and follow. So you seek 10 meetings, you may get 3, but you should be maybe out of the 3, 1 works, and then you are done. So it's very important to keep the motivation level and persistence very, very high. Now I come to this particular aspect of tackling the weakness. I'm not going to say challenge or something like that. Very important, what I find is, although we have so many avenues of collaboration, ultimately what is important there is the HR. The human resources, human relationship, I would say HR, human relationship, the interpersonal relationships is very important. And for that, what comes in the way, very important, is a mindset. I will not say of industry alone, I'll say of academia and industry. There has to be a drastic mindset in both the academia and the industry to allow such interactions which have initiated or not initiated. Those that are initiated would certainly grow, those that are not initiated could certainly start. And it is very important to understand gaps that exist in understanding each other. We talk of understanding gaps in technology, etc., etc. But important when 2 people can get along, or they find that they have a common wavelength, that's when gaps dissolve. And technology gaps become very, very minimal at that time. So it's very important, personality gaps, if we address in a big way, then we are sure that this kind of industry-institute interaction can certainly keep growing and growing and growing. Coming to the technology gaps, one bone of contention is the TRL level. Academia starts at TRL 1, goes to TRL 2 or TRL 3 in a master's project, and may go to TRL 4 in a PhD project, 3 or 4. But industry would seek something at 6. Then that gap lies between TRL 4 and TRL 6. So very important is this change in mindset. If academia is willing to accept something at TRL 3, take the support of the faculty, give support to the faculty by appointing somebody from the industry to liaison with the faculty and together take it forward, that would be a win-win situation. Alternatively, the industry could enter at an early TRL level and do joint development. It need not be an industry-sponsored project initially. It may not be the industry idea, it's the academician's idea. But you know it's come to TRL 2. Now you say, okay, I'm interested in this, I'll take it forward. And let me tell you, this has started happening at ICT. We have 2 projects going very, very aggressively, taken up at a lower TRL level and being pushed to higher TRL levels. The third would be nesting of industry on the campus. Wherever you have huge campuses and huge space to let out, because this brings the industry so close to you that there's going to be regular contact. And when there is regular contact, automatically collaboration is likely to follow. And we've seen these things happening, particularly when industry is nested on the campus in some cases. So this is again a very, very interesting way of introducing industry-institute collaboration. And yes, government could create forums for, this is III, industry-institute interaction. But when such forums are created, it is important to ensure that decision makers who are present are committed to the cause. Often what happens is in such fora where I have been a part of, in many cases, a very junior person from the industry joins in. And that person, he or she, is not in a position to take any decision. And then probably because of improper percolation from there in the industry, or probably because of other priorities, whatever be the cause, many times these don't really bring out very, very positive results that are anticipated. You may get 10%, 20% success, but not very high rates of success. So this again needs to be relooked at a little differently, but this forum that government has started doing is a very, very important component to support industry-institute interaction. I come back to what Dr. Agarwal said, because this really hit me when I heard it. So what I have been talking to you about is an academic institute like ICT, which is focusing a lot on research. And I also showed you that with this research, we are able to garner a lot of projects. We are able to develop IPR, generate IPR, license IPR. But when we come to this, innovation converts knowledge into money. Today, the government has also started focusing on this aspect. For years, it has been focusing on good research and knowledge because that is the base. But today, government has changed and it says, on one hand, we want good research and knowledge. But on the other hand, we don't want only research and knowledge. We want part of that as an innovative component where that knowledge could be converted into money. So government is looking for returns on investment in research, which is very, very valuable. Because of this, there is a high level of awareness and motivation among academia today that they can't just think research and publication. They have to think beyond. You have the ARIA ranking that has come in, that is the Atal Innovation Ranking that has come in, which is now indirectly putting pressure on institutions to perform, to think radical, to think different, to become innovative, so that you could convert knowledge into money. So that motivation has come. This is monitoring, and therefore there is an emphasis on such kind of developments in the institutes. So this, through government implementation, is playing a role in changing the mindset in the academia, not just faculty, but also students. Very important. And a very important initiative of the MHRD AICT is the development of the Institute Innovation Councils. These innovation councils have been created across institutions in the country, over 1,000 plus institutions, and they are monitoring, they are governing the institutions so well, and that has set a fantastic base for triggering innovation in students, innovation in faculty, and also created one more aspect of becoming entrepreneurs. So instead of being job seekers, slowly students are also getting the mindset to become job creators, that is, become entrepreneurs. And that was the history of ICT. That's where it began. And in that early phase, we had so many entrepreneurs. And we're really looking forward to that golden phase coming back, where we have again a huge number of entrepreneurs who can contribute much more than 8% to the GDP. And very important, what the government has now in the NIRF ranking, the focus on perception. So perception is what the public feels about you, what other institutions feel about you, how well are you known in academic circles, how well are you known in plain civilian circles in the public eye. So this again is a trigger for institutes to perform, because you can't just say, I am ICT. You have to say, this is what I have done. ICT has done this, ICT has done that, and that is how perception grows. And that again has become a very important trigger to find innovative ways of improving perception. So innovation not only in technologies, but innovation also in improving perception. So that again is very, very important. So as I come to the end of my talk, a suggested mantra that I would like to state is to have a strong research foundation and a culture of research. And yes, focus on collaborations, because science has expanded. There are no more boundaries. And there is too much expansion for one person to be an expert in all aspects. So collaborations can certainly bring in much more success than independent research. Culture of innovation in the institute is very important. And also an alumni connect, where alumni serve as ambassadors themselves, where they are entrepreneurs for this industry-institute interaction, or through the companies where they're working to promote industry-institute interaction. And this industry-institute interaction, apart from what I told you, could also be campus placement, internships, lot. So I said, I am not able to cover every aspect because I didn't want it to become an ABC kind of talk. Awareness of industry needs very, very critical and important that academia pursue industry relevant research also. That is why I have set a defined percentage, because you need to generate knowledge, which is very important. We can call that as academic research, relevant research that is talking of science, understanding phenomenon, understanding why something happens. But yes, a certain percentage, you could define for yourself what you want. Maybe 20%, maybe 30%, maybe 100% if you feel so sure about yourself. But a defined percentage would certainly help your institute develop collaboration with the industry, because every faculty decides to collaborate, the collaborations grow much, much stronger. So I would like to say finally that innovation will be the key driver. So like the campus, particularly I would like to state here the Bhubaneswar campus under CSR. It's an unthought of thing a year ago, or maybe before that really happened. But that could be a stimulus for a number of other academic institutions to follow some kind of model may not be a whole campus, but could be some part, some center. You could think anything under the cloud, and there is no limitation. The mind we know has no limitation. And an innovative mind can certainly create more and more avenues to come up with ideas. Ideas would be the seeds that are sown to develop this industry institute collaboration, to grow into plants and then grow into good trees that are very, very long lasting. So, with this, I would like to thank the DST, the Policy Center of DST, and I would like to thank on my behalf, on behalf of our Vice Chancellor of ICT, Professor Anirudh Pandit, and on behalf of the Institute of Chemical Technology for allowing ICT to showcase itself and its progress and success story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Padma, for such an elaborative and deep insight to the ICT model. Indeed, this has given us a strong pointers for generating an industry academia model, keeping in mind the functioning and administration of education institutes in India, especially focusing on how to build a confidence culture between both the entities. We look forward to your guidance and support for coming up with the policy recommendation to strengthen industry academia ecosystem in India. So now we have a participation from Department of Science and Technology, Science Policy Fellows, faculty, young researchers, and industry representatives. We open our discussion session to our participants. My colleague, Dr. Mansimran, Senior Policy Fellow at the Center, will moderate the discussion session. Just before I hand over to Dr. Mansimran, I would welcome Professor Rupinder Tiwari, IPR Chair and expert in industry academia linkages. I request you, sir, to please give your inputs on same. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir.
Okay, before I start, let me just a round of applause for Dr. Padma Devarajan. It was a wonderful talk. For me personally, I knew everything because I have been to the ICT Mumbai a number of times, but the way she delivered the talk, probably I could not do it. I could never do it. Though I have recommended ICT as a state university, which is excelling in industry academia to Government of India. So we have published 2 books on industry academia. In both the books, we have given an example of ICT Mumbai. So I thought like one point which Dr. Padma Devarajan sir didn't touch, but probably that was in the last slide, and which I'm fascinated is the connect with the alumni. For me, it is very, very important. Like when an alumnus comes to the institute and is interacting with the students, so students have a role model that he is a product of this institute and he's so successful, why can't we be? So what we say is like ICT, yes, in terms of rankings, you see their number is like close to 70, 80 or 90. I think now it is close to 100 of the faculty members. But one has to see, let's say, in case when you take the averages, I think they are as good as IITs or IC Bangalore, maybe better than those. So, and for me, another point which is very interesting is they get only salary. They get only salary from the state government. And rest of the money or funding comes from the government or from the private sector. And from the private sector, it's the corporate social responsibility that they are attacking. They have a good alumni base, they can get that. But institutes like Punjab University, though we are also among the top 10 ARIA rankings, but yes, we have a lot of things to learn. I wish there were more faculty members of the university. There's probably like when Corona thing, we say bye-bye to Corona, we might invite Dr. Padma Devarajan to deliver a lecture. To give one-to-one talk with our faculty members. There are so many things I can talk on and on, but I think because the others are there, you want to hear them. And yes, Dr. C. Nirmala, she has just taken over. She is doing wonderfully well. This is one of the lectures. She's been interacting with you. So congratulations, Dr. Nirmala, for taking Center of Policy Research forward. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Dr. Tiwari, for your kind words.
Thank you, Professor Tiwari, and thank you, Professor Padma, for walking us down the line case of ICT, which, as we have evidently seen, has emerged from a department to an institute of immense repute. So the participants have quite a few questions for you. Ma'am, I'd like to start with, you spoke about MOUs with government, national labs, and other institutions.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Just repeat the question if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, ma'am, it was about that you had spoken about MOUs and collaborations with industries and other labs.
Yes.
So, one of our participants wants to know that what is the criteria for such MOUs to be signed?
The criteria for with industry, when industries comes forward and they want us to develop something with them jointly. So it is signed sometimes based on a single project, sometimes based on a bucket of projects. Like we have, particularly from Hindustan Lever, about 7 or 8 faculty involved in 7 or 8 projects. Then we have this MOU with L'Oreal that we had for training. So we had 7 or 8 faculty who were involved with the training, but only ICT signed it on behalf of all the faculty. So it could be project based, or it could be an MOU for technology licensing or transfer. It could be for IPR licensing or transfer. So it depends on what is the purpose of the interaction. Every interaction that you have has to be legalized. So we will have an MOU.
Right. So basically, all sorts of collaborations are legalized by the MOU, which also gives it a more standing and gives a more short commitment.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So, ma'am, on the same line, if we move forward, you talked about IPR. So, does ICT Mumbai have a policy for technology transfer? Like IPR policy is there in many institutions.
Yeah,
but does it have a dedicated policy for technology transfer?
Yeah, we do have a policy, but currently we are modifying it because we see a lot of lacunae in that. So we are actually the committee has been formed and it's working on it. I'm part of the committee. So that should be out maybe in another month or max 45 days, because it takes time. We have to make sure every aspect is properly integrated into the policy. So that right now our policy is there, but whatever needs to be done now would be as per the old policy. But we are trying to, make it stronger.
Ma'am, so if I may ask further to it, is it built upon the IPR policy of the institution? Like you build upon something. So is it built upon the IPR policy of the institution?
We already have a working policy, but we are seeing a lot of gaps, a lot of things missed out. Because as time progresses, a lot of things change. So with the changing situation, we are trying to make it more robust. That's it.
Ma'am. Right, ma'am. So, ma'am, going forward, surely industry has an active presence in the board of ICT. So, how has that catalyzed the advancement of ICT?
Basically, any board is responsible for advice to the institute. Right. So, we have had people like, say, Dr. Madhukar Parekh. We have had the Asian Paints MD, I'm not able to remember his name, Ashwin Dani. Then we have had Reliance head, Mukesh Ambani on our board. So we've had very senior leaders on our board. So certainly when any decision is taken, their input comes in. So I will not be able to say this thing was done because so-and-so said. It's not like that, because board decisions are always collective decisions. But they play a very critical role in advice during that deliberation.
Right, ma'am. Right. Going further, Dr. Lata Chopra wants to know that what does ICT do differently to ensure technical success and commercialization of the project, leaving aside the risk of marketing decision to kill the project?
I couldn't get the last part.
It says that what does ICT do differently or uniquely to ensure technical success of a project?
To ensure technical success, okay.
Yeah, and the second part says, she says that if we leave aside the risk of the marketing decision Like if at a later stage the decision is taken to kill that project or not take it further, that is a
See,
separate story.
what ICT does is when an industry comes to ICT faculty, obviously, if they are coming, they have confidence that we will deliver. So whatever we write down, that is why we have the MOU, where we clearly spell out what ICT is going to do and up to what level. Like I talked about TRL level 1, 2, 3.
Right.
We will not write it as TRL level 1, 2, 3 there, but we will say we will develop up to proof of concept only. Or we will do up to proof of concept and a little beyond. We will show you a small scale 1 kg batch. That's it. So once we have said that, we stick to that and we see that we deliver up to that. And if there is no confidence, the project is never taken. So I think it is more what you talk of the ethical standards of faculty. That is what drives success. So if I can't do something like meaning any faculty of ICT can't do, they will not take the project. They will pass it on to somebody else in ICT who's more capable. So that also happens. Somebody comes to me, I send to somebody else. Because I say, I don't work in this, but yes, I know my colleague works there, you go to that person.
So that also helps a lot in giving it a good direction. Right.
Yes. But marketing is not our strength. We don't do it.
So,
but I would like to point out right here, because I can see just below your window, Professor Sveta Lele from ICT, who is the director of the Jalna campus, and she has mentored 2 companies in foods, ready-to-eat foods, which is being marketed also and now sold under COVID in many quarantine centers for their lunch, breakfast, dinner. So that is also happening now. So we have one case, one role model, many more may follow.
And Padma, I want to add something regarding the MOU we are talking. Now we have 2 MTech courses at Bhubaneswar and at Jalna. Right. The students have trimester and 4 months they study and 4 months they go to industry. Right. So one of the reasons why we are modifying the IPR policy is we may have a teacher who is a consultant and there is a project and perpetually the students may change, but somebody or the other is there and maybe some IPR will be generated. So then how that is, like we are working with Garware and things like that. So that is a new model that we are also providing manpower. Because when I give new idea to a big house, corporate house, they say I don't have spare manpower to experiment and innovate. So these are young minds, it's part of, so it's like win-win-win-win. We say that एक पत्थर में 2 पंछी परवड़ता नहीं, 4 चाहिए मुझे. That's ICT equation. That's mutual also equation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. Thank you. Ma'am, going further, we were talking about how the faculty, if one faculty feels that somebody else is the right person. But ma'am, apart from monetary incentives, are there other incentives given to the faculty of ICT who are engaging a lot with industry? I'm not talking about monetary incentives, but other incentives like waiver of teaching or something of that sort. There's less academic load.
There is no less academic load, but a faculty who is in, consultancy, 1 day a week they are given free for the consultancy. That is it, throughout the year. That is provided. Other than that, there is no other benefit. Because then how do we manage? So this is something they have to be doing only if they are motivated enough to do it beyond their teaching. Otherwise, you do your teaching and be happy.
Just 1 day in a week, not 1 day per consultancy.
Oh, 1 day in a week for any number
of consultancy. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
Excuse me, Mansimran.
Yes, sir, please.
For Dr. Padma Devarajan. Doctor, when you have a research project from the industry, so the faculty member, can he draw a part of the salary from that?
It's like this. It's not called salary. But like I told you, from 2015, we allow a consultation component from the project.
Okay. Consultation.
So we split the project cost into project and consultation. Consultation, whatever charges, 1/3 goes to institute. Project, whatever charges, 25% goes to institute.
Yeah. So this is another way of, but then financially, yes, there is some reward for the project also.
Only since 2014-15. Till then, we didn't have.
That's very good. Very good. Mansimran, बेटे चीमा साहब बोलना चाह रहे हैं. चीमा साहब, उनको दो.
हाँ जी, right. We have Mr. H.S. Chima from Chima Boilers, which is a known industry here on the outskirts of Chandigarh. Mr. H.S. Chima, sir, am I audible? Dr. Chima, I am supposing your mic is on mute. Could you please unmute it?
Haji, doctor. Good afternoon. Good evening. मेरी तो डॉक्टर निर्मला से ईमेल एक्सचेंज हुई है और तिवारी जी भी जानते हैं अच्छी तरह. तो मैं तो चाहता हूँ सिलिका में से सैंड निकाली जाए आप लोगों की हेल्प से. हम सैंड खराब कर रहे हैं सिलिका. ठीक है, आ रही आवाज आ रही तिवारी जी?
हाँ जी, I'm listening.
Okay. So that is my subject, sir. We want to collaborate with Punjab University and let us work out for extraction of sand from rice husk ash. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Professor Tiwari, your mic is also on.
Oh, sorry. Chima Sahab, yes, Dr. Nirmala would take it further. So whatever help is required from my side, I mean, definitely I'll be there.
Thank you, sir.
We can do that. What you're asking for. Certainly, we can do that. Thank you.
Gentlemen, sorry, Padma, can I say something?
Yes, please, sir. Yes, please.
I'm Dinesh Chopra here. I'm actually running a project on the ICC Northern Region Industry Academia bonding, and actually trying to create projects between industry and academia. And from Punjab University, Professor Mehta and Professor Gaurav Verma are on our elite team, and we would like to, help you out for any such collaborations, and maybe we can get connected over the period of time. I'm based in Delhi, so we can, and I've been a visitor to your thing, so we can help you out to create that in the northern region of on the platform of Industrial Chemical Council.
Dr. Mansimran,
yes,
before I say anything, this help is coming to you from ICT because Dinesh Chopra is our alumnus.
All right, that is wonderful.
Yeah, I also run the North India chapter of ICT alumni.
Yes. So welcome,
That
Dinesh.
is wonderful, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Nirmala, इनको पकड़ लो, दिनेश जी को.
ठीक है डॉक्टर साहब. Yeah.
No, I'm already in touch with Professor Gaurav Verma.
So what we'll do is, what we can do is probably we can have one webinar in which like he'll be the main speaker.
Yeah, you can highlight. Yeah, that would be good.
Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. Ma'am, if I am allowed to take another question.
Sure.
Does ICT provide any sort of specific training for intellectual property to its faculty and students? Like, how do they go about protecting their IP and not, is there any sort of specific training provided or specific workshops or something that is being undertaken?
See, we have a course, an undergraduate and postgraduate course in IPR for the students who opt for that. It's an elective course which students opt for. So that way students are trained. For faculty, we have workshops off and on, and when workshops are held outside, they are supported, they are funded to go and attend. So that way they can go and attend workshops outside the institute also, and ICT will fund them. So currently it is funded through the TechWhip program.
All right, great. Would any other participants like to pose any questions? The floor is open for questions if anybody wants to.
Mansimran, I did.
Yes, ma'am.
I did post a question. Did you? Okay.
I'll just check it, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I have. Sorry, I got mistaken. What are the channels that have been created by the institute by which a researcher gets his technology converted into a product for the market? Like, what all channels does students have?
Channels, yes.
So right now, we have the researcher normally knows best who's the industry known. So we take help of our alumni to outreach there. That's one channel. And the other channel is senior faculty who would mentor the younger ones. But soon we are going to have a technology transfer cell. Our major problem is space. So we have a new building coming up. So when the building comes up, we will have a technology transfer cell and an incubation center. So at that time, we would have a more structured channel. Now it's a very informal channel. So very difficult for me to give you a roadmap.
I was just asking because in the university, if a researcher has developed a technology to get it to the market, so we just publish papers, it is there, but that does not go to the market as a product because the researcher does not know from whom to go, whom to approach. And that I think is one very big lacuna in the university. Because there are legal procedures and many things that has to be done. So researcher does not go into that.
See, there are two ways of taking a product to market. So that is either you become an entrepreneur, develop it and take it out. That is what Dr. Smita Lele has done actually. Okay. And the second is you become an intrapreneur. So you give it to an industry. And they would then take it forward. So you only help them in the technology. You don't have to help them in commercialization. So currently at ICT, we also have an innovation council. So in the innovation council, we have started this supporting young students and faculty also who want to become entrepreneurs. So right now, we have two entrepreneurship startups that have been already initiated with support from faculty. A third one is going into incubation, again with support from faculty. A fourth one, which I have discussed only today, and we are moving it fast forward, is happening today. It's starting. And we are 3 or 4 faculty of the council who are trying to move this forward because it's a very, very nice learning management system, which is very competitive compared to what is there already, like Google and all those things. So we are trying to see if ICT could benefit there. So that student has come up with something and he's just been talking to us 2-3 days ago. So we are trying to go really fast forward in that. So the Innovation Council, which I head, is playing a very, very proactive role in identifying such. Now we have publicized enough so people know they can come to us. So we are now trying our best to move it forward.
Yeah, can a faculty be an entrepreneur in the institute?
Yes. Our startup policy is almost final. It should come out very soon. But faculty are permitted to be entrepreneurs. There are certain rules and regulations that they have to follow.
Yeah, that's
Mansimran, may I?
Yes, sir, please.
Just for the knowledge of everybody, the central government has made an announcement, almost not an announcement, it's a fact now for the last 10 years. For all the universities and national research laboratories, any scientist, like he can get a leave and he can set up his own, he can be an entrepreneur, he can become a startup. So officially he would be provided leave for that. And many scientists I know, they have opted for this, including Punjab University.
If I may ask a question here, the leave is like a sabbatical or it's unpaid leave, sir?
It's a full paid leave. Full paid leave. Many in ISC Bangalore, they are doing it. Many people do not know because it was initiated by the CSIR, passed by the Government of India, and it's mentioned that whatever is applicable to CSIR is applicable for all the universities. I can send you that.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I can send
Please,
you that.
I would be happy to get that.
Radhika? Yes, we have it. Mansimran?
Yes, sir, we'll make sure that.
Please email it because we are finalizing our policy. I can include this part into it.
Yes.
We are waiting about that part.
Yes.
Sure, ma'am. Okay. Would anybody else want to pose a question? No. If you don't have any more questions, I'd thank Professor Padma, and I'll invite Ms. Mamta Bhardwaj to give a formal vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Hello everyone. My name is Mamta Bhardwaj and I'm working as Senior Scientist 3 with the DST-Centre for Policy Research. So today we had a second session of webinar series which DST-Centre for Policy Research is going to organize in future too. And we have Dr. Padma from ICT Mumbai as a distinguished speaker. And ma'am, you talked about IA interaction in ICT Mumbai, and collaborative research is being going on in ICT Mumbai. And also you took us through the journey of ICT Mumbai and how ICT Mumbai evolved and how it became a brand now. And you also told us about the recipe and roadmap of IA interaction and what are the opportunities and challenges of this parameter. And you also told us about the example of IA collaboration, how ICT Mumbai is going about it, and also gave us suggestions and feedback how we can improve IA interaction, how it can be a very important attribute for the development of any institute, whether it is societal development or economic development. So as everybody know that ICT Mumbai is the epitome of industry academia collaborative research, and this is the best example for this parameter. So, and we could, Dr. Padma, you were the most befitting person to talk about this topic. So we would like to thank you for taking part in this webinar, ma'am. And your suggestions and feedback will be incorporated in our recommendations and will be submitted to DST, Government of India, New Delhi. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being part of this webinar. Thank you. And I would also like to say thanks to Dr. Rabindra Panigrahi, sir, as he told us about that he's part of this new SCIP policy 2020, which is very important part and very crucial and very is a national task of national importance. So our center would like to say congratulations to you, sir, and would like to give best wishes for the success of this SCIP policy 2020. I would also like to say thanks to our worthy Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar. So thank you so much, sir, for allowing us to have this webinar. He previously he also wanted to be part of this webinar, but somehow he could not. He got busy with some other assignments. I would also like to say thanks to Professor Rupinder Tiwari, our former coordinator of DST-Centre for Policy Research. And thank you so much, sir, for being part of this webinar, and your guidance will be needed in future too. Last but not the least, I would also like to say thanks to our participants, Dr. Ma'am, Vedya sir, Dinesh sir, Dr. Ajit. I would like to say thanks to all of you from the DST-Centre for Policy Research and taking part in this webinar series. So if you guys have any questions, you can post us or you can send us email. We would love to answer your emails as soon as possible. So thank you everyone for taking part in this webinar, and happy Independence Day in advance. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much too.
So I'll just sum up. First of all, Dr. Padma, your lecture was just amazing. The content was good. The way you delivered. I've heard your lecture for the first time, but I would say that I would like to hear it again and again. And so when things are okay, we really want you to come. You have a very good setup, but the working of the institute, and it's very well. And you talked about this collaborations. These are very important interdepartmental, because you also mentioned that it is one cannot have all the knowledge. So we have to have from different quarters, from different departments, because we are not an expert in all. That will give a much more better ideas and technology development and consultancy. That part was also very good, because sometimes we have the knowledge and people want. So if that platform is given, it can give a better idea to the entrepreneurs. And yes, Alumni Connect, which Professor Tiwari also mentioned, that was very good. Thank you again, and to the others, Dr. Ravinder, Dr. Smita. I work on food and nutrition and healthcare, and maybe I would contact her later. And then Professor Tiwari, I was very interested. I'll contact you later because we are working on a very different plant and we are fortifying food products. So is this something I would like to discuss with you later?
Sure.
Professor Tiwari, thank you. He has been behind us, and fortunately, I'm very lucky that I have a very good team, and all are supported, and we are trying to work together. And whatever Professor Tiwari has done in the 6 years, we are trying to take it forward. So thank you all of you again, and hope that we'll meet again sometimes in a real conference.
Sure. Thank you so much.
You forgot to tell one important thing. All female staff.
Yes.
We talk about gender equality, and here things are different. So there was only one male person, and all 5 female staff kicked me out.
So we have to perform now. We have to work more. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye. Great job, Padma.
Thanks.